Hey, you guys, thank you so much for hopping on tonight. So, something that I'm going to talk about, and I don't get too off track because I feel like this topic is something where I can totally share all kinds of things. But we're going to be talking about our core four. And when we're talking about that, it's things that like your top four things that you're going to focus on doing to help build your business. And I'm going to share like what mine is, and I'm going to share different ways of how I do those things so you can kind of gather ideas. And if you hear anybody else, at any time, like do a Zoom about their core four, it's going to be like probably a little bit different things. So that's something that's like super cool because you can kind of hear different things and tweak it to like, do what you want to and like what you feel is most important. So, one of the number one things, like probably my number one is posting. Okay. And that is because like our social media, like, that is like our billboard. Like for us and the way we build our business, for most of us, like we do it through social media. This is how we're letting people know what we have and what it can do for them, how we can help them with their goals. So we need to be making sure that we have that our commercial or our storefront, our advertisement up every single day. Okay. And, it's really important because, even say you go to a restaurant, I was just an analogy. Say you're going like, or not even going to a restaurant, but you're driving down the highway and you see a billboard. McDonald's has their Shamrock Shake Back, And at first you're like, I don't really care about that. And you just ignore it. But every day you keep driving past that same billboard. And over time, you start noticing, okay, that sounds kind of good. I wonder if that's like good. And then, but you still keep ignoring it. But every day you see it, and eventually you're like, you know what? On my way home from work tonight, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna give me that milkshake. You know what I mean? Because you see it every single day. When you see commercials on TV, every day you're gonna see, McDonald's is putting their commercials out there every single day, and like Walmart, whoever, every single
What's
day.
wrong?
They're not doing it because it's not important, or you know what I mean? Like they're doing it because they know the more the people see what they have, the more people are going to start asking questions, the more people are going to be interested. And that's the same thing for us in our business and with the posting. That's why we want to be putting something out there every single day, because the more people are going to see it, the more that they're going to start thinking, huh, could I use that? Can't, is that something that would help me with my goals too? Oh, maybe I am curious about that. So they can start asking questions. And then also along with the posting too about our products too, don't be afraid to like share different products that we have. Maybe there's a product that you're like, well, I haven't tried that yet because that's not really something I need. Always remember that you never know who's watching your posts and what you can help them, like a problem they may have that you can help them with, or a solution that they're looking for. So remember that too. I know like say like our hair gummies. Maybe you're like, "Well, my hair grows great. I don't need to take these." And that's okay. You don't have to start taking them if you don't need them, but don't be afraid to share before and after pictures of someone else that's taken them, sharing other feedback, because you never know who on your timeline or someone who knows someone might know somebody that needs to use them. You know what I mean? So you just want to make sure that we're sharing a little bit of everything. Um, and one other thing about posting, and I'll kind of circle back to this later, is don't just post about it work stuff all the time. Because now while McDonald's is a little bit different and they're always talking about, what they have on their menu and things like that, we're a little bit different of like the way our business works, and the fact that like we are running our business. So, we are our promoters, we are our advertisements. People need to almost like buy into us, right? Before they do the product. So it's important that we're showing people that we're a real person. We're not just some It Works robot that is trying to sell them something. We want them to see, like, oh, that's Lindsay. Like, she has kids, she has a family, like, her kids wrestle, she thinks that she's funny. Like, I do think I'm funny. I think I have a sense of humor, the things I share. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to help people connect with me. Sharing what my goals are, that's going to help people connect with me. So it's really important that you're not just only posting about it works on your social media. You also want to be posting just regular things too that you would post before this business, because that's going to help people build that relationship with you, feel more comfortable with you, and really, I feel, really pay attention to the things that you're sharing. So the other thing, sorry, I have like notes because I wanted to make sure I like didn't forget stuff. So if I like seem semi scatterbrain, that's why. um so the other thing that I feel is really important to helping us with our business is doing host to post. And I know you guys are hearing about that all the time. But that's something that, I'm working on doing every day. And the reason that's important for some of you guys who are newer on here, that's just because it's almost a way to kind of expand your network, but it's almost doing it in like a magnified way. When I started this business, which is so crazy, like almost 12 years ago, we didn't have host to post, and we didn't do that. So when we wanted to add new friends or grow our network, we would just like go to, and you can still do these things too. Like I would go to someone's Facebook page that I went to school with, and I would go look at their friends list because maybe when I became friends with that person on Facebook, 10 years ago, so and so didn't have Facebook. Or maybe I was like, in a time where I was still like kind of petty and I was like, I don't want to be friends with that person, like whatever. And now I'm at the point like I'm grown up and I'm like, I don't care, I'm over that stuff. Like I'm gonna add them. You know what I mean? Someone you used to work with. Maybe, there was someone that you used to work with and you somehow lost touch with them and now you see they have a Facebook. You know what I mean? So adding people that way, that was kind of like the old school way of doing it. Or I remember going to like my parents' Facebook pages and like adding their friends. Even if I didn't know them, they were gonna be like, oh, well, that's like Lynette's daughter. Of course I'll accept her friend request. You know what I mean? Like so things that way, and you could do it with like your cousin, your aunt. But with host to post, and that's like asking people if they would do a post for us on their page. That's like just kind of magnifying us, expanding our network. So you're asking someone, hey, would you put this post up on your page? So when you do that, you're having Sally that posted on her page, her friends are going to see that. That's going to open up that door for you to have conversations with Sally's friends that if it wasn't for her doing this post for you, you maybe never would have talked to these people. And now you're sending them friend requests, you're having conversations with them. So that's just open. And then it's going to be crazy because then they'll be like wanting to do a host to post for you too. So then you're kind of like, you're branching out even further. So it's just a way to really grow your network. But you guys, it's important because you need to be doing it every single day to really start to notice the benefits. I mean, you could do it like once a week and that's like fine. But if you're like serious about growing your network and trying to, really grow your business, I encourage you to be working to get 5 to 10 posts up a day. Now you have to remember, not every day you're going to talk to 5 people and 5 people are going to say, yes, I'll do it for you. Okay. And that's normal. Some days you're going to feel like you asked 25 and maybe 2 people said yes. And then they didn't even post it, even though they said they were going to. That's like normal, you guys. Like we're dealing with real people here. So we've got to like give some grace, but just remember that if you're being consistent, it's going to start like catching. Like things are going to start happening. You're going to start getting into a groove. Okay. But that's like one of the biggest things that I'm doing is host to post. And like I just love it because I'm like, holy cow, like I'm having conversations with people that I maybe never would have had conversations with. And then that gives you an opportunity they put up a post for you. Well, then you can say, hey, like, I don't know if you'd be interested, but can I send you more info about what I do? And, they could be like, oh, sure, I want to know about making extra money from my phone. So it opens up that door as well of having conversations about the business, sharing that with people. But things that I do to do a host post, I'll put up a giveaway post sometimes. Just super easy, people comment. Sometimes I'll just ask people in my friends list, hey, would you do, and I can share these messages, or if you want to ask me for them later, I can give them to you that way. Would you mind doing me a favor and putting this up on your wall? I'll put you in my giveaway. That's the way I'll ask. I'll put up, say, like a random post on Facebook. It might be like a inspirational quote and say I have 74 likes on that post. I'm going to go through the likes of that post and I'm going to ask those people to do it, because it's just a different list. I'm talking to someone and they're like, oh, I really want to try that product, but I can't order right now. No worries. Happy to help whenever you're ready. But then I'm going to turn around and say, would you mind doing me a favor? And would you want to put a post up on your page for me and I can enter you in my giveaway? Yes. So, it's just another way to like always like maximizing your interaction, just asking the questions. Um, because like I said, it's just going to help you grow your network anymore. And then that's why, this posting, not just about it works is helpful because say you're going to have Jennifer that's going to accept your friend request. Well, now she's going to be able to go to your page and she's going to get to learn a little bit about you, even though she just became your friend. You know what I mean? She's going to see, oh, you've got a dog, whatever. Oh, you're really funny. Oh, you like to garden, whatever. That's going to help these new people coming in to be like, okay, she's a real person, and it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay. So that's what the other thing that I feel is really important as far as like your core task list for the day. Another thing, following up, you guys. Okay, so we're growing our network, we're having conversations with people. It's really great whenever you have a conversation and you're like, here's the info, and they're like, okay, how do I order? And sometimes people send you their card info before you even like tell them your pricing, and you're like, okay, wait a minute, like, do you want to like know how much you're paying? But that's
No,
like,
that's
that's the anomaly. Not that's like very few and far between that people do that. Most of our conversations, they do need a follow up. Okay, and that's okay, that's normal. So just remember that, like, when you have a conversation, you give someone info, just go ahead and like, and whatever your system is going to be, like, write their name down so you don't lose track of who you're talking to. Get a notebook. That's like a big thing. I have a notebook, and I write down the people I enroll each month. But for you guys who are newer, you can totally get a handle on this. Get a notebook and write down the date every day. Write down the people that you talk to about product, even, and you could even, if you want to say what product it is, whatever, but as long as you have their name written down, because that's going to give you a list so you can go back in a couple days and kind of pick that conversation back up. Okay, so maybe you sent them info and they didn't ask you for pricing. Well, the conversation's not dead. You just need to go back and say, hey, can I send you pricing info? Maybe you sent them pricing info and they didn't respond. That doesn't mean that they're not interested. Go back and say, hey, like, I'm working on some orders today. Can I help get you started? Just anything to start getting the conversation going. Or, whenever we have deals like we have right now with that extra 20% off, you can easily go back to those people and say, hey, I know we talked about you trying the gummies. I just want to let you know that today you can get an extra 20% off on top of the perks member discount. Do you have a minute? I can get you all set. You know what I mean? Because you never know like what happened, why people stopped talking. It wasn't that they weren't interested. People get busy, they get distracted. Gosh, I can't tell you how many times like I'm having a conversation and my kids do something and I'm like over here and it's like 6 hours later and I'm like, holy crap, like I literally didn't even finish my sentence to that lady, you know, and it's just because we get busy, or maybe they're like, oh, I'm gonna think about it and they just forget to respond. I always use the example of, if you're in a furniture store, and say you're looking at some furniture and someone comes up to you and says like, "Oh, do you see anything you like?" And you're like, "Oh, we're just looking." Okay, and they go off. And you keep looking and you find something that you really like and you're looking around and you can't find anybody around. No one's come back to check on you. No one sees if you have questions. Well, what's going to happen after a while? You're going to kind of start getting annoyed, probably, right? And leave. And you're like, you know what? Let's just go somewhere else. So I always think that about with our business and following up. Like, it's good customer service. Like, if I don't come back and say, hey, can I give you this info, or can I, answer any questions? I don't want them to feel like I'm just like writing it off. It's not important. You know what I mean? Because they could just go somewhere else. They might see someone else posting and be like, hey, can you tell me about this? So just think about that whenever you're going to follow up. It's not that you're like bugging them. It's not that you're being annoying. You're just providing good customer service. And if they tell you, no, I'm not interested, drop dead, don't talk to me ever again. Okay, then maybe that's a hint that we'll back off a little bit. However, I feel like if people don't block me because like they're not like totally not interested. Do you know what I mean? Because I've had multiple people tell me, no, I don't want to use that. And I say, no worries. I'm happy to give you more info in the future. And they'll come back and be like, well, what kind of info would you give me? And then you start having a conversation. You know what I mean? So sometimes I think people, kind of get defensive right away, but that's not a no, like, for good. So just remember that, like, it's totally normal. I think I can't remember the statistic, but it was, I think, like 80% of sales are made between like the 16th and like 20th contact or something, right? Like that's a lot of times following up, but that's when a majority of the people actually order is at that time. So, and you don't have to follow up like every single day, forever. It's just you kind of do it in a couple days, see how it goes. Maybe you start spacing out a couple weeks. Like you don't ever really take them off the list. But I just wanted to mention that because, if today you're having a conversation with someone and the conversation just fell off, don't forget about them. Write them down and you're going to go check back with them in a few days or at least next week. Okay. And then for sure by the end of the month again, even if they haven't said anything else, you're going to go and touch back with them. Because gosh, like probably like 90% of my like enrollments all the time are from from host to post and from following up. Let's see. And then the last kind of thing I want to talk about, I feel like I have a lot of different things that I could say, but as far as like the top four things I put on here that I put, and then Melody, I saw your question. I'll come back and answer that in a second so I don't get too far off my wagon here. It's just building relationships. And most of the things we talked about kind of go along with that. But that's like something that's really important for our business that you maybe wouldn't think about, like, because it's not like, necessarily being like, oh, this is how I get someone to order. This is how I, have a conversation, things like that. But like we talked about a little bit before, just to kind of help build that trust and that relationship. You want them to feel like they know you. Like I should be able to go to Dale's Facebook page and I should be able to like see, like, I should be able to know some things about her even without, if I didn't even know her. Like, and it was my first day. You know what I mean? And that's how people should be when they're coming to us. Also with can you go shut that door really quick? Also, another thing that goes in with that is interacting with your friends on Facebook. So you want to like and comment on your friend's post. Okay. And because again, you're not just some it works robot. Like you want people to see that you're a real person and you're out here really paying attention. So if someone posts, it's really easy stuff. You can do someone posts that it's their anniversary. You can easily go through and say happy anniversary. If they post about someone's birthday, you can pop on the comments, even if you don't know the person, happy birthday. Um, Anything, little things like that. If they're doing a family picture, you can just say like, oh my gosh, beautiful family. Just anything to kind of help, to culminate that relationship. But also like that's going to even kind of come into, I feel like it does multiple things. It's going to help people to be like, oh yeah, I forgot all about her. Well, but also with Facebook, the more you interact with your friends, the more it has like it shows your post in your friends' feeds. So say you go over to your friends and you start telling happy anniversary and things like that. Well, that's going to trigger Facebook to show your post to them. That's going to allow them to have the conversations. Okay. So just remember that too, that everything that we do, I feel like has multiple like benefits. It's not just like a one and done type deal. But yeah, just like building that relationship, letting people see that you're a real person. When someone tells you, "Oh, I don't know, I've tried that product before." Don't be afraid to say, "Oh, okay, awesome. Like how long ago did you try it?" Or, "Oh, you tried it, works before. What did you try?" Like don't just be like, "Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Have a great day," and walk on. Like don't be afraid to ask questions and show them that you're truly interested. Or if someone tells you, "Oh, okay, I got to talk to my doctor. I have this situation going on." Like, "Oh my gosh, like I hope that goes well. Let me know if you have any more questions." You know what I mean? Like don't just be like, "Okay, sounds good. I'll talk to you later." Like always kind of put that little personal twist on it as well. Something that I do to help build relationships that I feel like is really easy is not just the interacting, but doing my birthday messages. Every day I go through, like, for whoever on my Facebook friends has birthdays, and I send them a message and say happy birthday. Just because it's something like simple and easy I can do just to give that little personal, like, one-on-one touch. Okay? I'm not just going on their wall. There's nothing wrong if you do it on their wall. That's totally okay. But I feel like sometimes you have a bajillion posts on your wall for your birthday, and it's hard to even like keep up with those, right? And you don't even like really know who posted. But if you went to the inbox, like on my birthday, I don't get a ton of people that put something in my inbox. So that's going to stand out a little bit more. That allows you to stick out, have that one-on-one conversation just to see again, you're a real person. You're taking the time to send a message. It's not all about making the sale, getting you to order a product or something like that. Like you're just truly just trying to be a friend and just being nice, and just supporting them and like, taking note of what they have going on. So, those are kind of like my top things. I'm going to look at my notes really quick to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Oh, another thing is too, like after you do have people order, don't just forget about them because they ordered. Like, and you're like, okay, great, got their order, and I'm going to buzz off and go find the next person. Go back and just check in and be like, hey, did you get your products? Hey, have you been using your products? How is it going? Because again, that's going to show that you're, building that relationship. It's not just about, making a sale. You want to really help them. You want to find out how their products are going. If they're like, this isn't working for me or whatever, let's find out like why and ask questions. And if you're new or you don't really know how to do that, don't be afraid to ask those questions and then go back to your enroller or your upline and say, hey, I have this person. Like I still do this, you guys. I have this person and she really wasn't noticing changes yet after she was taking this. What could I do? What could I tell her? What could I ask her? Okay, because that's going to be a way for you to, again, build that relationship and show people that you're really here to help them. It's not just about making the sale, and it's okay because everything's not always working the same for everyone. So and so might have told you that they wanted to try the wraps. Well, they ordered the wraps, but they didn't tell you that they wanted to lose weight. Well, the wraps aren't for weight loss. So that's going to take some tweaking, you know what I mean? But that's like a big thing, you guys. If you don't know what to say, ask the questions. Like I did not know what the heck I was doing, and I still don't all the time. Like I still go to some other leaders and I'll ask them, like, say, hey, this lady told me this. What would you say to her? Because like we're human, like we're just trying to figure this stuff out, and everything's always different. You're always coming with different situations. But even when you just have people asking you about certain products, it's okay to be like, hey, I'll find that out for you. Or you don't even have to say anything back right away and go message your enroller and just be like, hey, someone asked me what the keto coffee does. I don't know what to say. And Dale's shaking her head because she knows that's what she does. And I never yell at her. Like that's what we want you guys to do because that's going to help you learn. Like I would much rather you come and say, hey, someone asked me this, what do I say? And me help you with what to say, and you can copy and paste it, you can save it, whatever, versus you being like, I think it's this, and go and say something. And you know what I mean? Like we're here to help you. That's what we want to do. So don't be afraid to ask questions. I feel like some people think that, they're bugging or things. I never take it that way. It gets me excited. I feel like, okay, yay, somebody like needs me. Um, so yes, like definitely ask the questions. Like I said, again, I'm just making sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Another thing, as we were talking about, the interacting and things like that, when you're posting, make sure when, of course, when people are, you do a product post or an It Works post and you have people commenting, sending them the message, but don't forget about the people that are also liking your post, your It Works post. Go message those people too, because they liked it for a reason. And that's not something that I used to do for some weird reason. I would think, oh, well, they didn't comment. So I would message the people that like my post and I would just say, like, ah, cute. See, I can't, like, I'm like a little squirrel. I get like way too distracted. I want to, but just message them and say, hey, I saw you liked my post about the slimming gummies. I'd love to give you more info. The worst thing that they're going to say is, oh no, I just liked it because of the picture. Or, oh, I was just like trying to be supportive. No problem. Thank you so much. But it's crazy the amount of people that will say, yes, can you please give me some info? Okay. So kind of like don't leave any stone unturned. I don't know why my nose looks like so red. I feel like I look sunburned. What? Okay, I'm just gonna read these questions really quick. That's right, and then do you start on the left and right, go down, you read it down, that makes sense. Melody, I don't think I know what you are saying about the script.
So, hang on. Like when you're going into the buying the gummies or joining our team combo, do you read from like left to right or do you go like down the left column and then down the right column? That's where
Oh, do
I'm
you mean like
confused.
in boards?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm gonna look at it really quick. I think it
Because
would
I get
be.
messed up and I think that like if I don't know if I'm sending the messages in the wrong order and it's like kind of throwing people off, but I've had like so many bites this week and I just feel like I'm throwing them off somehow. So I don't know if I'm confusing myself or what I'm doing.
Well, I bet also you're in your head and you're probably doing nothing wrong. It's just we get through those kind of times where I feel like we talk to people and they don't respond for whatever reason. I'm on like Courtney's board and I know like I'm on the one about like her gummies host to post. And with this one, it looks like it does go like left to right. and back. Like, so back and kind of like it'll go back and forth
Yeah.
that way.
Okay.
Um, and I mean, if
And then
you're
do
reading it, you don't think it flows well, if you're like giving info and then you're like, oh, this is how you order, and then there's one that has the pricing info, like, and you're like, this just doesn't seem like it makes sense.
yeah.
Um, I
And I
would,
know, I mean, like putting a personal twist into it too, like, I don't know.
so, um, yeah, I think you're probably just overthinking it, which we do. Um,
Mhm.
something that I try to do that because I used to not do this in the beginning, and I don't even know how anybody ever ordered or did anything with me. But I used to want to like give all the info I could at one time, and I would have like these responses that were like this long. And I learned that the simpler, the better, the shorter, the sweeter, and also just answering the questions as they ask them. So if
Yeah.
someone's like, oh, like, can you give me info? I'm just sending them a blurb about the info. Then I'm letting them come back and ask me, how much is it? And I'm giving them the pricing. Then I'm letting them ask me what a perks member is. So I'm giving because and I'm not saying you do this, but it's making me think of this because maybe I'll tie into it somehow. Because I used to want to give all the information at once because I wanted to know everything. And I would like, then I'd be like, okay, or they'd say, what is the price? And I would say, oh, let me send you my website link. Because I would think sending them my website link was going to be the best thing because they can get on there and see everything themselves. But then I learned that they get on our website, they don't know what the heck they're looking at. There's a lot of info there.
Um,
It can be confusing.
yeah.
So I try to like give as much info as I can before I send them the link, but I'm answering their questions one by one. And there's nothing wrong with like putting your own personal spin on it. Just make sure you don't get caught up in the almost word vomiting and getting like not sharing too much in a like saying they're like, whoa, okay, I didn't ask your life story, but just because I feel like we want to be like we want to make them feel comfortable. So we might be like da 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 da. And I know like before like one of our leaders, she always said a confused mind says no. And so it's like sometimes,
Yeah.
we might like think, oh my God, I'm telling her all these things about all this stuff that I dealt with, and this is probably going to help her decide. And then it's like, really, it's like, okay, wow, I didn't need all that, you know? And again, not saying you're doing that, but how you said, you try to put your personal spin, maybe, and again, you're probably not doing anything wrong, but like maybe somehow it gets lost off of where we started, and then we're over here and they're like, okay, what was this about again? Type thing.
Yeah.
But it's probably not even that. Like, I bet you're just in your head, and you guys, like, that's one of the things, like, this is also just like a numbers game, and it's gonna be like you're gonna have to talk to people. There's a book, and it was a book I read when I was newer, and literally it was the best thing, but it was a book called Go for No. Super simple, Go for No. It's like very easy read, a very small book, but it just talked about the importance of just having conversations and like talking to people and understanding that, to get to the people that say yes, you have to get to people that also go through the people that say no as well. Okay.
Hmm.
And it's all about the more people you talk to, the more people that you're going to have that come around that are ready to order. So, I have times too, where I'm talking to people and I'm like, am I like saying something wrong? And I'm like, no, I know I'm not because I've had this conversation over and over again, and I know it works. I know people, this is a conversation flow that works. Or I'll do a post and I feel like I get into a mix of people that'll say, oh, I thought this was free. Oh, you said tester. I thought this was free. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I like doing this? Is it my fault that people think this? And I'm like, no, because I've done this post a bajillion times, and so many people ask how much it is. They know it costs money. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's all about the people too. So Melody, that probably totally got off of like what you were wanting, but um,
No, no, it didn't. Sorry. My
I
kids
just
are
think
like, no,
I think that you're doing probably great. It's
no.
just the fact of it's just it's not the right people right now. And so
Yeah.
I
And I
really
mean,
believe
a
that
lot of them are
sometimes,
like, oh my God, it sounds really good. I just can't afford it right now, but I'll keep you in mind and blah, blah,
mhm.
blah. So I'm like,
I
okay.
I really think sometimes, especially doing host to post, you can get into like I want to say bad batch, but it's not, but people who it's like, man, sometimes you feel like you do a post or you talk to people and it's like, yes, 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 like I'm in, like, and
Yeah.
you're like, holy cow, and then you get to another one and it's like, no thanks, no thanks, no thanks, and you're like, what the heck? So
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, but the more conversations you're having with the people that give you those responses, you're gonna get to the people who say yes. And I'm sure there's nothing wrong with your conversation, just if you're following the flow, we don't share those things because we want you guys to like fail and flop. Those we know those conversations work. So just keep following and keep adding your personal twist. Something that I do too is whenever maybe someone else, I'll give somebody info and then they ask me like, oh, well, does this really work? Or what are the typical results? Sometimes I'll even change it up and send a voice clip. Like
Oh
I'll
yeah, that's
be
what I gotta work on. That's one thing I gotta work
yeah, and I'm like not a public person. Like I would be like shy and awkward. I'm like, but for some reason I can do a voice clip. But like I feel like it adds that level of again trust and like personalization and genuineness when you do that. So when it's like, well, what's the typical results? I can send a quick voice clip and be like, well, it kind of varies, but for myself, this is what I noticed. Like I noticed like my inch loss and I could put my hands on my hips. And I feel like they can really hear my personal like excitement and also like that how like that I really am excited about it. Or if they're like, I don't know if I want to do a commitment. I'll send a voice clip and just be like, oh, I totally get it. The good thing about and explain it in my voice. Cause sometimes I feel like I have a hard time with like reading stuff and understanding versus like hearing it. And
definitely.
so that might be something too that maybe at some point in your conversation you can add in or even if you do a follow-up with like a voice clip and just be like, hey,
Awesome.
just wanted to see,
Yeah,
I just wanted to check in, see if you had questions. I'm working on orders. Happy to get yours in too. Just because then that way they can hear like your voice and hear like, okay, she's a real person and stuff like that.
yeah, that's cool. I always forget that. You guys send
Hey,
them to me all the time too, and I never think to do it.
yeah.
So,
And I mean, but I like to change it up sometimes. I do mostly text like, you know, messages, like, and the like actual text, but I do change it up sometimes and do a voice clip. And I feel like that always helps, especially if they seem like unsure or kind of hesitant. I feel like a voice clip just kind of like helps tie it together.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, Laura shared in the chat some kind of messages that she does when someone's maybe not ready to order and how she spins in to ask them if they'd want to do a host to post. So,
Cool.
um, yeah, and like Laura said, you can always send screenshots to your enroller too and be like, hey, this is the flow of my conversation. Do you think this sounds good? And
Yeah.
maybe there's something, I don't know. But like it's almost like a learning experience too, because you gotta like but I don't know, none of us are professionals at this, so it's like okay to like kind of muddle through for a little while, but we want to give you guys a guide.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, Alexandria, yeah, I feel like some of them do get a little wordy too, and you're like, you just want to be short and simple, and you can totally tweak the scripts too. That if you're like, this is too long, you can cut out the stuff you don't want to put in there and just make them shorter. So, and use conversations that you work. Like if you have people a time and you're like, man, I thought I sent XYZ and I felt like I got way more people saying yes, then go back to using what works. It's always cool to try new things, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's something like I use scripts that I used. If you guys saw like my system, you'd be like, oh my gosh, like I know some people in my head that I'm like, I had these conversations with, I like this, and I'll just go back to the message and copy and paste it out of there. And I'm like super short, sweet, to the point, but I'm like way old school. And because it's like what works. Um,
What works?
okay, you're not funny. Okay, I'm gonna really quick, you guys. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm gonna stop the recording really quick. But I hope this was helpful and I loved like your guys' questions. I thought this was really good.